everybody, I am Moving with Movies. Welcome back to my channel. So let's get into the ranking. So the first one I have is a Melissa McCarthy comedy that really let me down. It was the worst on the list. I'm starting with the worst. So it is Life of the Party. This movie just really let me down. I laughed I think once. There was something about this movie I didn't like, and normally I like Melissa McCarthy. I like the stuff that she does, but in 2018, she really let me down. The Happy Time Murder, it wasn't that funny, and then this was just even worse. So I really don't understand what she was doing, but she did come around and did Can You Ever Forgive Me, which was really good. So the next one is a comedy that I watched. I think I laughed a good amount of times. But this is a comedy that also kind of just slipped through my liking, and that is Keeping Up with the Joneses. I think this has a great cast, Zach Galifianakis and Isla Fisher and Gal Gadot and John Hamm. They could have done a great spy comedy movie, but instead they gave me this. I laughed, I think, twice. I watched it recently, I didn't laugh at all. I didn't know what was going on. Next is a third part of a movie trilogy that I thought the first two were really good, and then the third one was like, really? You gave us that and then you gave us this? Pitch Perfect 3. This movie maybe had one or two good comedy moments, and really the rest was just a slight cough laugh where you don't actually mean it. I really liked the first two, and then I was really excited when this came out. I was like, oh my god, they're doing a third one. Let's see what's gonna happen now. And honestly, it was just not that good. Next one up is I Feel Pretty. Now, this is a comedy of last year that a lot of people did not like. I personally thought it was enjoyable up until the last 45 minutes. I actually did enjoy what they were going for. I liked Amy Schumer's kind of take on a situation where in real society, people don't like what they look like. They think they should change because of other people, but I liked the message of this movie, but the comedy was just dragged into the concrete. Next is Pitch Perfect 2, the second part of the trilogy, where I thought this was funny. I liked it. It was not as good as the first one, but I think they stuck with the same thing, just not as well. I liked it, but not a lot. Next is The Hitman's Bodyguard. I liked this a lot, actually. I thought it was funny. The action was okay. I mean, some of the comedy was kind of bad, but I thought it was an enjoyable watch. Next is What Men Want. This came out in 2019, and this is a movie where a lot of people really didn't like it because of the played out message that everyone is equal, and I totally agree with that. I think everyone should be treated equally, but this one just dragged it into the dirt. And while there were a few good comedy moments, I laughed a lot in this movie. There was really nothing else. If you want to laugh, watch this. If you want something else, don't. Next, I have a comedy with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. That's a comedy duo I cannot get enough of. The Other Guys, I really like this movie. It's about two buddy cops who are really not the best, but they are intimidated by the best cops in the precinct, and then they get their opportunity to show that they're better. And it's just so funny. I think it's such a funny movie. I'm really glad I got that. Next is a movie, Identity Thief, that got a lot of hate by critics, but got a lot of love by people. And I think that's the problem. People look at critic reviews and say, oh, it's a bad movie because it got a bad score. Watch it for yourself. You don't have to listen to the critics. I, for one, thought this was a hilarious movie. I loved it. I love Melissa McCarthy, and I think Jason Bateman did a good job in this. And I just really liked it all around. It wasn't the best thing I've ever seen from Melissa McCarthy or Jason Bateman, but it was good enough for me. Next, we have a movie that was Amy Schumer's debut, comedy movie star. Trainwreck. I thought this was pretty funny. I didn't really enjoy the character Amy portrayed. It just, the writing, the direction, the acting, I don't think it's her fault. It's just, they really made you hate the character. And Bill Hader's character was a very forgetful person, but there were some really good comedy moments in there. And the other stuff I laughed at. It was not the laugh I was talking about in Pitch Perfect 3. It was genuine comedy. Next is a bit of an older film that I thought was pretty good. There's Something About Mary. This is a classic. If you haven't seen this, well, that depends. If you haven't seen this and you're 12 or under, I don't recommend watching this movie. But if you're 13, I think nowadays 13-year-olds or higher can handle this kind of stuff. That's just my opinion. Watch this movie. You'll laugh your butt off. Next is a movie that really, it had such a great story. I thought it was hilarious, and I thought the cast was just incredible. And I really think that they did the right thing with this by telling it the way they did. I'm talking about Tag. This movie, they even say at the bottom, it says, based on a true story, we're not kidding. They're not kidding. This actually happened where a group of kids started playing a game of tag and never stopped for 30 years. So in the month of May, they play tag, and Jeremy Renner's character, I believe his name is... Nope, I don't know. So Jeremy Renner's character has never been tagged, and the other guys, they try to tag him, and it's a really funny adventure. I would recommend watching that with your friends because that's a really friend movie. I liked it a lot. Next is a movie that I think, compared to what it was going off of, was a nothing movie. But if this was just based off of this, it wasn't like a remake or a sequel, it would have been really good. Little. The reason I say this is a remake, because it is. This is based off of the movie Big with Tom Hanks. And this movie was funny enough for me to enjoy it, but not funny enough for me to love it. I thought it was pretty good though. I liked the idea of how it went from big to little, and Issa Rae, her character has to take care of the little one, and I think it's just a funny adventure. Not as good as Big, but still pretty funny. I wouldn't say it's bad, I wouldn't say it's great, but it's kind of in the middle. Next is a movie that was great. This movie is probably the classic movie of all classics to ever be a classic. That's just all I gotta say. Mrs. Doubtfire. This movie, oh my god, this movie is just such a hilarious watch, and if you're with your family or your friends or anybody, watch this movie. Oh my god, it's such a funny movie. With Robin Williams, you can't beat it. It's Robin Williams as a woman. It's amazing. Next is like a dramedy. It's Instant Family. This movie was such a great film of last year. It was really funny at points, really sad at points, but it just hit all the sweet spots for me. It was such a great film, and I really like family coming together, like those kind of movies, so I really enjoyed watching that one. Next is a movie that is probably, I would say, the trendsetter for all modern day comedies. This Is the End is probably one of the most craziest, funniest movies you'll ever see. It's about the apocalypse, and a bunch of guys get stuck in this big mansion and they all play themselves. It's a bunch of celebrities who play themselves, which is what I love about this movie. I think it's such a cool idea. And they just have to survive the apocalypse. I think it's hilarious. I love what they did with that movie. I think anything Seth Rogen, James Franco, Danny McBride, Jay Baruchel, I think it is, Jonah Hill, Craig Robinson, all that is just, it was golden. Next is a movie that I thought was more comedy than it was like adventure, and I think it was supposed to be adventure, but it was more comedy to me. So Jumanji, such a funny film. Kevin Hart and Dwayne Johnson are golden, and when you add Jack Black, that's just comedy overload. Here we have Big. This movie is insanely funny. It's so good. Tom Hanks is, like it says there, Hanks has never been better. And it's such a great, funny film. Honestly, there is nothing There's no other movie you can make about time change with people that could ever be as good as this. Such a funny movie. Number 1 for me, Melissa McCarthy movie. It's the funniest movie I think I've ever seen. Spy. This movie just did it for me. Everything was perfect to me about this movie. Melissa McCarthy's character was absolutely hilarious. Rose Byrne was such a believable villain. Jude Law did great. Jason Statham did great. I just loved this movie. Everything about it was golden. Everything about this movie, anybody could enjoy. If you're like, I would stay away from this until you're like 13 or so. Honestly, this is just a great, funny film, and I can't say enough about it. If you haven't seen this, definitely watch this, because you're missing out on a great comedy movie. So that's all for my comedy ranking. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe and like this video and share it if you want to. It's your choice. I don't care. You can dislike this video. I won't get mad at you. It's probably because you didn't agree with my ranking. That's fine. Leave a comment, your ranking. I'd like to see it. I'd like to talk with you about it. It's just, I think movies are something that brings people together of all ages, families, friends. I just think it's such a great thing, and I really like movies, if you haven't noticed by the title of this channel. But honestly, yeah, that was my ranking of comedy movies that I own. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.